And to give an example, one thing that I think is super, super important is just being able to hear the story and that first phone call with a borrower is just so crucial in my opinion. And that's when I try to extract so much information from them and just learn who they are, what makes them tick, and just get a sense as to how they operate, their character.
Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It is Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground. Thank you so much for joining us today and making us a part of your day. I'm really excited about having Will on the show, Will Harvey from Harvey Capital, mainly because we have a similar offer to the public, and I'm not going to get in his way and talk about our stuff, but I am absolutely picking his brain because he's doing really well, and so are his investors, and I'm going to figure out how he's doing it so that I can replicate it here at Clark Street up here in Connecticut. So it's the cool part about having smart people on your show, that when you're not competitive, you get to pick their brain. So Will Harvey, welcome to the show. And selfishly, get ready, man, because I'm about to pick your brain.
I hope I can live up to that. I really appreciate you having me on, and I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, I always tell people that we're all, as real estate investors, we're all reading the same book. And sometimes I'm a chapter ahead of you. Sometimes you're a chapter ahead of me. And in this case, you're a chapter or two ahead of me. So I'm looking forward to reading those.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So for those folks who haven't discovered you or your company, why don't we start with who you are and what you do?
Yes, I'm Will. Like you said, I have an investment company called Harvey Capital. And right now my main focus is hard money lending. So I have a few funds that are dedicated to that. And then I also have a closed fund that I cut my teeth on a few years ago. And that's what got me into this. Hard money was an accidental thing. But in that fund, our main focus is actually investing in real estate through the public markets. So that's an interesting thing that not a lot of people know exists. And I certainly didn't when I stumbled upon that. So that's our main focus. I started out, I don't know if you wanted me to give my background or.
Yeah, sure do. I was going to ask you if you didn't offer, so.
Cool. So how I got there is back in 2015, I got started in the mortgage business after I dropped out of college. I was playing football and I had double hip surgery. So that was the end of that. So came home, got started in the mortgage business, and just really caught the real estate bug fast. I understood pretty quickly how debt worked and how you can use it to leverage a property acquisition and use some of your own funds, and then the majority of the funds as debt to purchase a property. And it just kind of made sense to me. And so I bought my first house when I was making very little money. I think I had a $30,000 salary. And this was when I was just learning the mortgage business, and I was on the path to become a loan officer, but hadn't jumped out into sales yet. And I started learning about the Fannie, Freddie, FHA, all those guidelines. And I'm like, hey, I can do this. I can get my dad to co-sign. He can supply all the income that I don't have. And I can, to actually pay the mortgage, I can rent out this 3-bedroom house. I can live in one room and I can rent out the other 2, and it'll cover the mortgage and it'll be great. And so I did that and house hacked my first deal before I even knew that was a term. And that's how I got started. That was back in 2016. And then fast forward a little bit, I get kicked out of the nest and start originating loans. And I didn't have a wife, didn't have kids at the time. So all I did was live, breathe, and sleep mortgages. And it accelerated pretty fast. And I was making good money, but it was W-2 money. I felt like a hamster on a wheel. And so I would generate cash, buy a house, generate cash, buy a house. I got to 3, and I was in an expensive area in Northern Virginia. I was running out of my own money. And at the same time, I realized that I just did not like being a landlord. Just the whole tenant, the whole tenant thing, and dealing with all the phone calls and just all the nonsense that no one talks about when you first get into real estate. All they talk about is passive income and all the wonderful.
There's nothing passive about operating your own properties.
That's what I tell people is if you have this dream that it's going to be passive income, forget about it. The only way you can truly have passive income is if you invest as a limited partner. That's the only way. But you give up control, and there's pros and cons. So anyways, I had a few houses. I was not really excited. I was making great money in the mortgage business, but I felt like I had golden handcuffs on, and had no light at the end of the tunnel as far as an exit or some kind of windfall. I was just a high paid W-2 employee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up leaving the business in 2019, and I started a house flipping company with a partner. And what I was doing at the time, I know house flipping is there's not really wealth in that either. It's also a high paid job, if you will. But what I was doing was I was taking the cash that I was generating from flipping houses, and I would invest it into a multifamily syndication. And because I was a full-time real estate investor, I would get all the bonus depreciation that would wipe out the gains that I was making from being a house flipper. And it was a great way to build wealth and legally not pay tax on that income. So did that for a while, did a couple deals as a GP, wedding venue, and a small hotel that I still own with partners. But all the while, I just realized that I don't like being an operator. It took me a while to figure that out. But I've had short-term rentals. I've done multifamily. I've had residential properties. I've done a bunch of house flips. I don't like being an operator. I realized I really get excited about being on the finance side of things. That is what excites me. Looking at P&Ls and balance sheets and being in Excel and now Claude. But that's what I love. That's what excites me. And so it took me a while to figure that out. And I think I had to go through buying houses and being a landlord and doing all that to get to that point. But in 2023, I started my first friends and family fund and raised about a little over 1.5 million for that one, and have a good chunk of that as my own money. But I started this fund, and we were going to go out and invest in different limited partnerships, multifamily deals. We did a couple built to rent multifamily deals, a mobile home park. But when I first launched it, I had an old coworker call me, and from when I was in the mortgage business, and he was like, "Hey, I got this guy from another country. He makes great income. He has great assets. He's putting down 75% on this $1 million home. He needs $250,000. He's willing to pay hard money prices. It'd be in first lien position." Before he got done saying all that, I was like, "I'm in. Yeah, we can do it." We had some spare cash in the fund. So that was my first hard money loan. It was totally accidental, and I caught the bug quick, and we started doing more and more of those. And eventually last year, I started a dedicated fund, more of a 506B, smaller fund. And a few weeks ago, we launched a 506C fund, and feel like we have a really good process and formula and have everything really systematized. Now we're ready to throw some gas on the fire. So,
you can actually talk about it.
And I can talk about it. That's right.
That's
right.
So without
that, yeah, that's my background.
Awesome. Hey, congrats.
Thanks.
I totally get. I have many friends who have, and my business partner Mike Meyer is one of them, that they've written. In Mike's case, it's, I guess, hundreds of millions of dollars, but he's a lot older than you are. And Mike, if you're listening, you are a lot older than he is. The fact is that you start to write these loans, and you realize, wow, these investors are doing pretty well. I get a little piece, they get a big piece of the deals that we're talking about. And then you go to the next level of, not only am I getting, as an investor looking at it, I'm getting a bigger piece, but the person who's writing the check that enables me to make all these deals happen is also getting a very nice return as well. Yeah. And so being the mortgage broker, you're basically a little bit further down on the food chain. Bright people like you start to figure out, I should be on the other side of the table. Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly. It just wasn't my company.
Yeah, that's it. Right. You spend the first however many years of your career, in a lot of cases, making somebody else wealthy, and then you figure it out and you work on yourself. So
yeah, amen.
So hats off to you. The debt fund thing is interesting. Like I said earlier in the show, before we were really getting going, that we started a debt fund as well. And the thing that was interesting to me was Samuel Brannan, who was the first millionaire in the 1840s and 1850s during the California gold rush. And he wasn't the one digging for gold. He was the one selling sieves and shovels, right?
I love picks and shovel businesses. Yep.
And that was the thing that was really interesting to me and Mike. And I'm curious, why did you start with a debt fund? You could have done syndications, you could have done anything given your abilities.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been a part of syndications, both as a GP and an LP. And I think it just boils down to being my temperament. I like being the lender. It's a lot different when you're the lender as opposed to doing a deal as an equity raise where you're borrowing money, but you're raising money from investors as equity and you're operating on the equity side of the table. It's just a lot different. So when you're on the debt side of it, we only do first lien position loans. We try to have a low, LTV related to the after repair value, and
Sure.
we feel pretty comfortable in that position. And there's less upside, of course. If the borrower makes $1 million, we get what we're contractually obligated to get. No
10,
no
12,
more.
whatever
Yep.
percent, right?
No more, no less. And we're perfectly fine with that. And it works for us. It annualizes out to be a high teens return. And that's great. That's enough to pay our investors. It's enough for us to make money and
Sure.
everybody's happy. So that's why I just kind of the debt side of things, it seems like a lot less, just a more, I don't know. I've just gravitated towards liking credit, and some of the stuff I've done in the public markets have been more credit focused as well. And I think that there's a guy that I read a lot about. His name is, what's his name? Oak Tree is his company's name. I can't think of Howard Marks. Howard Marks is a very underrated investor in my opinion. So everybody's heard of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and those guys. Howard Marks is a value guy, just like Buffett, just like Munger, but he just doesn't get the attention. And I think a lot of it is that he just flies under the radar. But he's more of a credit guy. He doesn't like equities. He sticks to debt and
Things you can
bonds.
touch, right?
Yeah. I have just gravitated towards the credit side, and I think it just fits my temperament a lot better than equity.
Yeah. And it turns out flipping houses also really hard, right? You got to love it. And I joke, I still flip houses, and yeah, I've gone kind of full circle. I've gone from flipping houses to multifamily to large multifamily to investing in syndications and now debt fund. And the reason being is that running, as you were saying earlier, running a rental property or flipping houses, it's really hard.
Yes.
It's not for the weak of heart, so to speak.
Nope.
And,
Yeah. Contractors and just all the headaches that go
humans.
along with that. Humans, permits. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to deal with human beings, and that is never a straight line, ever.
Exactly. That's right. And being on the lending side, you still have to deal with humans, but a lot less humans.
Yeah, and they're the ones that have to make it go and pay the bills, right? I'm curious from your model perspective, how do you protect capital?
Yeah, we have a few different ways. Obviously, this is something that I've given it a lot of thought. A few weeks ago, as I was creating this fund and the PPM docs and all that, I sat down one evening and really put a ton of thought into trying to go to first principles instead of reasoning by analogy and just looking at what everybody else does and what historically has been done in lending as far as doc collection, W-2s, tax returns, bank statements, all that stuff. It's like, what are the risks? I tried to sit down and it was like, so a little background. I'm a big Elon Musk fan. I think he's a just incredible guy, regardless of what you think about him. A lot of people don't like his politics, but whatever. He's a force of nature.
He's taking the human race to Mars.
Exactly.
No.
So
Upset.
Enough said. So I think everybody can learn something from him. So I really like his approach and how he looked at the cost of space travel, and I just saw that it's so expensive because there's all these intermediaries, and this company subcontracts this off to this company, and then they subcontract it. And there's all these layers of middlemen that have profits built in, and it's just this insane markup because of that.
Complex, right?
Yeah, exactly. He took it to first principles and said, okay, what are the materials of a rocket? What are they made out of? Aluminum. What, I'm not smart enough to know, but he took all the stuff
and stuff that goes,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And he looked at all that and he's like, here's everything a rocket is made out of.
Right.
If we have all this and we put it together, that is the cost of the rocket. So we looked at the absolute lowest price that you could build a rocket for, which would be just buying the material and the parts, the raw material. And then he worked backwards from there and tried to figure out how do we do this in house so that we don't have to pay these knuckleheads a crazy sum of money to do some little job and then multiply that by 1,000 because there's all kinds of components in a rocket. He just tried to figure out how to do that all in house and reduce the costs. And then he figured out how to reuse the rockets, which is absolutely insane. When you
Yeah.
see those rockets landing on that thing, it is nuts. So anyway, I tried to apply that to lending, and I know it's not, he's doing rockets and we're doing lending. It's a little bit different, but I just looked at it. It was like, what are the risks? What are the main risks? And I identified 7. I don't have them in front of me, but I basically identified 7 risks and then looked at what are the crucial things that we need to do to mitigate each one of these risks as best as we can. There's always going to be risks that come up that you don't even think of. So it's like, what are the major ones and how do we eliminate them? And how do we, what documentation are we over collecting? And then what are we under collecting? Because I think that a lot of lenders over document things that don't really matter.
Belt and
And I,
suspenders, right?
yep.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean, that's
think,
what it is.
yeah, I think that you can over document things that aren't really that important. And then I think you under document things that are really important. And to give an example, one thing that I think is super, super important is just being able to hear the story and that first phone call with a borrower is just so crucial in my opinion. And that's when I try to extract so much information from them and just learn who they are, what makes them tick, and just get a sense as to how they operate, their character. I think that's so important. And we're using AI, we record phone calls, we plug all that stuff in and we try to come up with intelligent decisions based on that. And we're collecting bank statements, we're doing all that stuff too, but it's like we're really just trying to identify the major issues, solve for those. And if we can do that, if we can be in low leverage situations, then we should have a pretty good chance of getting out okay if something goes south.
Yeah, 0 losses reported is really impressive. And I'm curious about, and it's fairly unique in the business, right? And that's perfection is not attainable, right? It'll happen at some point where you'll have to become the flipper again. And
Of
that
course.
part's fun. Bad for the investor, but it's fun to get back in and roll your sleeves up and get one done. In terms of the investor and the relationship that you start to build, you said the first call is really important. I look at it like you're dating, right? You start to date, and then when you actually wire the funds, you're getting married, at least for a little while.
Exactly.
And I look at that both from a flipper perspective, like the folks that we work with that our fund invests in, as well as the investors with whom we work, right? When we become the stewards of their money. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. And you mentioned how you evaluate the flippers. How do you do that with potential investors?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Elevista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at elevista.com/underground.
Yeah. You mean, what do you mean by how
I got $500,000 I'm not doing anything with. I want to invest in your fund. I pick up the phone and call Will and say,
yeah.
hey, Will, I want to wire you money, but first, you and I are going to have a talk. What are you looking for in that conversation?
Yeah, I want to make sure that their mindset is similar to mine. With the 506c fund, I want to make sure they're accredited because they have to be. So that's obviously important. If they have $500,000, chances are that they are.
They're probably.
But yeah, I obviously want to figure that out. But beyond that, I want to figure out what their mentality is. Are they going to want to put in the money and regret it and want it back the next month. If that's the case, then I probably don't want their money to begin with. We have a 1 year, they're 1 year, 1 year terms because we have to have time to put the money to work. But even if someone's gonna, if it just seems like based on what they say that they're fly by night and they got shiny object syndrome and this is just the flavor of the month, then it's probably not someone that we want to work with. I've always been a long-term investor, and I haven't chased trends or fads or anything like that. I'm not really a crypto guy or anything like that. I like to work with investors that think the same way. And most self-select, they see what's on my website, and the ones that are chasing the crazy returns and the Bitcoin stuff, they're going to see my website and be like, this guy's boring anyway. So
boring's good. That's the thing, right? And that is, I fundamentally believe the beauty of real estate. It's boring.
Yep.
You buy something, you fix it up, you hold it for a period of time, you let inflation do its thing, and then you either refi it or you sell it or not. You pay it off and enjoy cash flow. Pick them, right?
I saw this thing. It was this article recently, and it said to test whether you're onto something, go to a cocktail party and start talking about whatever it is. And if people's eyes start to glaze over and they start walking away from you, you know you're onto something.
Nailed it. Perfect. Exactly right. It's the old Warren Buffett thing, right?
Yep.
Go run in when everybody else is running out. Or
exactly.
What did I paraphrase? But yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I want boring. I don't need to be excited. I got too many other things to be stressed out about. I'm a father of daughters. That's enough. And between that and the other things I have going on in my life, I don't need stress from my real estate stuff. I want that.
Yep, exactly.
So when you are looking at potential deals, now you mentioned you had multiple funds, right? So the first fund was a 506B. So that's typically friends and family. You've since graduated to a 506C, by the way. Well done. Your life got a lot easier when you did that. The
attorney bill got bigger though.
But it's worth it, man.
I get it.
Every penny, it's worth it. I'm telling you. I've seen more than one. Unfortunately, I haven't been one of them, but more than one situation where, thank God, they had good attorneys that helped them think through all the possible scenarios and how to manage them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because inevitably one of them happens, and you got to manage that, right? And
that's right.
Really good attorneys have that level of experience and knowledge base to be able to say, hey,
you should think about this. Yeah.
You should be thinking about A, B, and C.
That's right.
And D is a worst case scenario. I guess I'm an Irishman, right? So I think in terms of Murphy's Law is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so I plan on mushroom clouds on the horizon. And when they don't happen, I'm pleasantly surprised, but I plan for them, right?
It's the way to think.
Yeah. As you are looking for investors, what is how do you identify investors? And I mean this by flippers, not necessarily capital partners.
Okay.
How are you identifying flippers to work with? You're hanging out your shingle. Are you going to REIAs and meetups? Are you doing social media? How are you getting the word out?
Yeah. I've done everything so far I did some Google ads months ago, and then we just ran into the problem where we had too many deals, not enough money. So I turned those off, and that was part of the impetus and why I started the 506C fund. And we've been off to a good start with that. And I think that will alleviate that issue. But yeah, the Google ads is something I know very well. When I used to flip houses, that's pretty much how we got all of our leads. So Google ads it's so complicated, but once you figure it out, and with AI today, it can shorten the learning curve tremendously. Google ads is great. A lot of people that we're trying to reach look on there on Google.
The Google machine is powerful for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've gotten a lot of business, a lot of repeat business from meeting people at REIA meetings. I went to one last night, and it was a waste of time. I just didn't talk to anyone and I just get hot and cold on those, because it's like, man, sometimes I'll go to a meeting and I'll meet 5 or 6 people and just have awesome connections and set up lunches with them, and it'll feel very fruitful and like things are going to come, and then loans come from it. And I'm like, man, there was one meeting I went to back in, I don't know, October, November of last year. And I think we picked up 2 or 3 borrowers. We've already done a few loans just from that one meeting. And then there's other ones where you just get nothing. It's just crickets. You don't really meet anyone that like I'll talk to
it's not a
different
good fit.
lenders and or if it's not a good fit. And I just go back and forth on those. I'm like, man, how scalable is this? And should I really just delete this and focus on Google ads and more paid sources, social media, mailers, that sort of thing? And that's where every time I go to a REIA and it's not good, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and just focus on paid sources. And then when I go to one and it's good, I'm like,
I'm truly blessed.
What are your thoughts?
So I'm blessed in that we have here in Connecticut probably one of the best REIAs in the country. It's top 3, 4, 5 largest REIAs in the country, and super active, well run, good, solid 150 plus people every month.
Oh, nice.
A lot of beginners, which aren't really a fit, but that's okay. You mentor them, and sometimes those baby investors turn into adolescent investors who turn into adult investors, and they become customers 2-3 years down the road. And that's great. But every once in a while you meet a hitter who's coming in the door and trying to figure it out. So I think REIAs are valuable, but it depends on where you live, right? And that's a roll of the dice. I am a huge proponent so I come out of the technology world from my professional career. So I'm a huge believer in Facebook and in Google ads and in particular, artificial intelligence. And actually, that was one of the next questions I wanted to ask you before we get into the lightning round is AI has the ability to identify and manage data so effectively and efficiently. And I'm not talking about using ChatGPT as a search engine. I'm talking way beyond that, right? About being able to go into a certain space within the internet, be able to scrape that information, pull that information down, rationalize it, make it useful, and then utilize it in terms of either cold email or an outreach campaign of other sorts or something to drive social media campaigns. These days for us, I do a lot of social media, just outbound education, and that by itself seems to work really well.
Really?
Right? I think people start to realize that, okay, I can learn something from these guys. They actually care, right? There's a character value there. And also we've got a pretty good network, right? If they come to us and we can help them, great. If they come to us and we can't help them, pretty sure we know a guy that can. There's that value too. I don't do a lot of advertising, not a lot of Google, not a lot of Facebook, although I have, and it's worked. But social media for us has been so effective that we don't need to spend the money anymore.
It's super encouraging to hear that because I literally have it written down. Look into social media, in particular Instagram and Facebook, because it seems like you can kill those two birds with one stone.
And TikTok being the third of that wheel.
Yeah.
There's a woman who comes from my old stomping grounds. I don't know her very well. I've met her online a little bit, but her name's Sabrina Romanoff.
Okay.
And she runs a platform called Blotato, Blotato, that is a social media repurposing engine that is really valuable and would probably help you and probably help the folks out there as well.
I'm writing that down.
But I'm curious about, you've mentioned AI in the context of your operations a couple of times during this interview. How are you using AI to run your business?
Yeah, so I use it all the time. So I have Claude Code sitting on my terminal on my computer, and that's really how I interface with it through VS Code.
Same.
And it has access to all my files or all the files that I give it access to. And it's super, super interesting the way that, just what it can do. And it just seems like I was using it a couple of years ago to look at things and analyze stuff. I was using Gemini at the time, and it was good then, but it is light years beyond where it even was a year ago. I mean, it is just moving. 6 months ago. It is moving so fast now, and it's just getting more and more intelligent. And it seems like this year with OpenClaw coming out and just, it feels like it's gone exponential in terms of just what it's capable of doing. So how we're using it is I'm using it a ton. I had it redo our website. Anytime when you send me the links to this podcast, I'm going to go in, I have a skill built, and I'm just going to copy and paste your email, and I'm going to say, add this to my website, and it knows exactly what to do. It's going to transcribe if you put this on YouTube or however, it's going to transcribe it. It's going to put some cut ups on my website. We're going to have a dedicated URL for that interview, and it's going to create a thumbnail. It's going to do all that stuff, and I don't have to do a thing. I can go and have that operate in the background. So that's the simple side of things, stuff to do with my website. How it's helping us in terms of underwriting and risk management and all that kind of stuff is when someone sends me, when I get off the phone, like I was saying, if I have a conversation with someone, we get a lead and it's the first time I've ever talked to them, I'll have a phone call. I use Claude to record it. It's a little device on my phone. You can record in-person meetings. You can record phone calls. So I'll do that and it'll generate a summary. And so that's a data point that we use. And then if they're looking at 123 Main Street and they have an Excel pro forma that they've done on it and they've pulled comps, I'll just say, send me everything that you have on it. Shoot me an email, send me everything that you have. I want to see your deal. And then I'll take that and I'll dump it in to Claude. And I have a skill where it will look at all that. It will look at the conversation. It'll look at their Excel pro forma. It will look at their comps. It'll look at any text that they put in the email. And then it will go out and it will do web searches. It will look and see if there's any fraud stuff related to that person. It will look at their social media. I haven't implemented that, but I plan to. It will look at social media profiles to see what are they posting about. Is there anything goofy on there? It will look at the deal. It'll do its own independent analysis. I use PropStream to come up with a lot of data, and it'll look at that and it'll basically spit out a brief for me to look at. And I always verify everything, but it basically compresses what used to take hours into 10 minutes. It'll operate in the background. It'll put that together. And then I look at it, verify everything. And it just radically increases our throughput. And I'm able to get back to people so much faster and either tell them, hey, this deal doesn't work and here's why. Or, yeah, this looks like it'll work. Let's move forward. And here's the docs that we need and blah, blah, blah. And it just radically increases our throughput and our ability to get back to people and answer them really fast. It seems like the incumbent lenders are slow and they just move like turtles. So it's low hanging fruit. And if we can come in and operate really fast and just try to just knock it out of the park as far as customer service and all of that, then I think we're gonna do okay. So
yeah, I'll tell you, Will, you're on the right track, man. Because as a flipper, and you know this, having done what you did, flippers care about speed. That's the deal. Right? If you're going to do 80% of the acquisition cost and 100% of the rehab, hypothetically, right? So that means I'm fronting cash to be able to get the siding done and replace the windows and replace the roof and plumbing, electrical and HVAC and all the stuff that we have to do. And so if I'm writing a check to a contractor for, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 grand, that's part of the business. That's fine. But you can't take 2 weeks to get me that money back.
that's right.
The hard money lenders that I've worked with in the past, Pinnacle Financial coming to mind immediately. I send them the receipts, they validate it, and 12 to 24 hours later, a wire hits my account, right? So that was the thing that we were always looking at is, okay, how can we use technology to make decisions on loans, service those loans, and ultimately keep the project moving? Because the other ramification, the big ramification of slow pay is the projects get backed up. A project that should take 90 days takes 150 days because you lose your window. Plumber comes in and does his, or the carpenter comes in and does his thing, does a frame out for you, and then the plumber's supposed to come in and do his runs. And if you can't pay the contractor A, and he's waiting on contractor B, and there's a lag.
Yep.
Then the plumber goes and does something else and he'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay, I just lost 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Can't afford it.
that 2 weeks could slip into the market changing. And that's the worst case, because now the ARV is going to drop. And I've had that happen on my own flip. My first flip, we over improved it and we took forever and redid the windows and all this crazy stuff that we shouldn't have done. And we bought it at a really good price, which is always what I tell people is, as long as you buy it right, you'll be okay. But it was one of those things where we just realized that you can't over improve a property, and speed is everything. And as a lender, I'll often get asked, do you guys have prepayment penalties? And I'm like, absolutely not. We want you to pay this thing off as soon as you can because of the points and all that. Our annualized return is higher when you pay it off sooner.
Right, we charge you points. That's why.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, right on.
That's right.
Let's move on to the lightning round. So one of the things that obviously you've done very well, I'm sure that you're well on your way to taking care of your personal mortgage and tuition for the kids and all that other good stuff that's really important when you're a dad.
They're 3 and 1, so I don't have to worry about that yet.
Let me tell you, man, I've got a 23-year-old and an 18-year-old. Those kids are expensive and they get more expensive. They don't get cheaper. They get way more expensive. And B,
that's what I hear.
You will blink and they will both be 18 years old.
I know. Everyone's telling me that.
I see my daughters. One of them's 5'10", the other one's 5'6". And I was like, man, you were both 18 inches tall yesterday.
It's crazy.
Yesterday.
It's got to be crazy to think about.
Nuts. And I'm going to my youngest daughter's high school graduation in 8 days.
Can't believe man. That's scary.
And my oldest daughter graduated from college 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
It's really, she graduated in December, but she walked a couple of weeks ago. But
scary.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you'll ever do, but I just can't believe how fast it went.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So enjoy every minute.
Scary.
And get cracking on the tuition and stuff coming. But nevertheless, I'm sure you've done very well with taking care of that. And nevertheless, you go to work on Monday morning. And for me, I look at that as purpose. And so I'm curious, what drives you? What's your purpose? What gets you out of bed?
So I think that naturally, I just am wired to do and build and create. And so I think that's part of it. I've always had just a kind of an insatiable curiosity. So I'm always trying to learn and do things and take action. And so that's definitely part of it. But also I have a family, a loving family. They're a huge motivation. And I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in Jesus. And my main ultimate focus is to use wealth and the resources I've been blessed with to steward well and to go out and try to fund initiatives that will advance the gospel to unreached places of the world. So that's my driving, deep rooted, ultimate thing that drives me.
Awesome. You mentioned Christ, and I'm curious, I'm going to take him off the table for this next question because it's too easy to answer it that way. What is the best advice you ever got and who gave it to you?
That's
why I did it.
You took it off the table. Yeah. Because he gives a lot of good advice.
And you can't use the Bible when we talk about the butcher.
Yeah. I would say some big Buffett. I love Warren Buffett. I think that he's just so willing to share his wisdom, and he's in my opinion, the greatest investor to ever live. And there's so much, but I would say the biggest thing is him talking about price and value being two different things. And I think once you realize that and you understand that when you're looking at a stock, you're just looking at the price. You need to look at the actual business. You need to go look at the P&Ls and their bank statements. You need to look at their filings that they do, their quarterly and annual filings. You need to understand the actual business. Forget the stock price. That's just the price. The price might be good or it might be too high. But
marketing.
Yes. But you need to understand what's going on with that business. And that will help you understand if the price is good and you should buy it, if it's low, or if it's too high and you should wait or look elsewhere. So price and value are two different things. The price, and then to tie it back to real estate, like I was saying earlier, if you buy something right, if you buy it at a low enough price, if you're getting a discount on something, that will alleviate most of the risk, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. So I'm also curious about, I think we said, we were probably before I hit record, I think you learn a lot, probably more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. So I'm curious about a decision that you made that you look back on now and think, man, I would love to have that one back. And how did you manage your way through it?
Yeah, so me and a couple partners bought this goofy short-term rental property that we planned to do, and I had a buy box. This is when I was flipping houses, and I sold my last short-term rental about 6, 7 months prior to this, and I was like, I'm never buying another one again. They're a headache. I'm done with that. All I owned at that point was my primary residence, and I had my money invested in syndications as a limited partner. I was like, this is great. I don't have to worry about any tenants. This is wonderful. And then I get stir crazy and bored and just have shiny object syndrome. And we get this lead on a deal, and it's outside of the typical buy box, and it's this goofy property. And I talk myself into it, bring a couple partners in, and it was just doomed from the start. And long story short, we ended up losing $70,000 on it, and it wasn't a fun thing. It was more the mental anguish of I was the quarterback on it, and I was responsible. And it was just the mental anguish of trying to figure out we made so many pivots on it and tried so many different, that was worse than losing money. And the money it sucked, but it was more just the laying in bed, thinking about it every night and what I'm going to do with it next. And that was one I wish that I could have back. I just realized that you got to be patient, and you got to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And I knew I was not a great operator, and I still moved forward with it. And it was just a foolish decision.
Yes. A former boss of mine used to say, too much brain damage.
That's
I don't need
right.
to stress, too much brain damage. I was like, oh, okay. All right. We'll wave off. No problem.
Yeah. I had a guy say he would say, what's the return on brain damage?
Oh, I like that. I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about how you take in information. You've mentioned Warren Buffett and a couple of other big names, Elon and so on. What book is on your nightstand, virtual or otherwise? Who's the author? Who are you paying attention to?
I have a few of them. I'm reading a book called Titan about John D. Rockefeller. It's 700 pages, and there's boring. It probably could have been about half that, if I'm being honest. But it's a good book. It's about John D., and he's obviously someone you can learn a ton from. And so that's a good book. I just read one called The Book of Elon. It's a newer book. It's about how Elon thinks and works, and it's all just a ton of stuff compiled from different interviews and things like that he's done. And so that's a phenomenal book. Another thing I've been doing lately is I will print something. So I'm not an environmentalist by any stretch with my printing habits, but I will print something. What's that?
You can recycle the paper.
That's right. That's true. So I will print something and I will save it for later before bed. That's when my mind starts to slow down. And if I find something interesting, usually during the day, I have stuff I'm trying to do. And so I'll print it and table it for later. I'll have Claude go out and do a research report on it and put together a PDF for me, and I will print it. And then I'll look at it later when I'm in a better state of mind to absorb information and stew on stuff and really be thoughtful. And so that's something I've been doing and getting in the habit of lately that wasn't really a thing before Claude, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, I've enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. So I'll give you another tidbit then. So I used to do the exact same thing. I had a folder that was full of, that's a good article. That's a good article. And eventually I'd get to all of them. Sometimes I didn't, but I use NotebookLM. And basically what I'll do is I'll take a document or a book that I've been meaning to get to and haven't, and dump it into NotebookLM. It will synthesize the key points. It'll do one of three things for me. It'll create a PowerPoint so I can really quickly understand what's in the book. It'll create like a report, like a synopsis of here are the 47 things you're going to learn from this book.
Okay.
My favorite is it'll create a podcast. And
that's cool.
So you can do a long form podcast. And what I'll do is I'll dump like a series of articles or a book. Like the way I read Hormozy's first 3 books, I own the books. And I dumped the PDFs into NotebookLM, and I had the podcast walk me through book by book. And it's 2 people talking, totally,
that's amazing.
Artificial intelligence. and they'll talk about this point that he makes, and here's why it's important, and here's what you got to pay attention to, and then it breaks it down. And I listen to it in the car.
That is so cool.
And it
I've never even thought of that.
above and beyond listening to the audible version of the book, which I've also done, but it's a second way to kind of quickly understand, okay, what do I got to know?
So how do you dump a book in there? I buy physical. I don't have a Kindle or anything. How would I do
You
that?
got to buy the PDF.
Oh, okay.
There are websites that will convert, or you can buy the PDF version of books.
I get it.
Actually download the PDF versions, but if I'm pulling a PDF, I still buy the book.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I've been
Want to give credit to
somebody. Yeah,
right.
exactly. You can have my $14. That's no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are sites where you can pull down full PDFs of these books. But again, please buy the book anyway.
Yeah.
And
So whatever's in PDF format, it will synthesize that.
or EPUB or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. That's so cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's
And
such a
it's
good
super
idea.
It's not like it's hallucinating or making up. It's actual. It goes line by line through the book, and then
I love
decides
that.
what's important to the story. It's amazing.
Yeah. That is so cool.
So let me ask you something. As far as success in your world, how do you define success in your life?
It's a good question. I would say it's less, I'm a process guy. I like Nick Saban's philosophy about this quote right here, outcomes are a distraction, focus on the process. Good outcome, bad outcome, just stick to the process. And if you do that long enough, the outcomes will take care of themselves. So I think for me at the stage that I'm at right now with a wife and a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, it's really just being present with them. That's something that the work stuff just seems to come natural. I have a natural drive, and I wake up early and I get to work, and I left to my own devices, that just comes natural. I just have endless energy, curiosity for that kind of stuff. So what I really have to be intentional about is disconnecting from that and trying to be mentally present with my family when I'm supposed to be. I think that when I feel I'm doing that and I'm with my boys and I'm really living in the moment and I'm not elsewhere thinking about a deal or a this or a that, something to do with work, that's when I feel like, all right, this is right where I'm meant to be right now. So I think that is what the stage I'm at right now in my life. That's how I view success.
Well, yeah, and you're spot on, man. Like I said, fatherhood is literally the best thing you'll ever do. Regardless of all your other accomplishments, those two guys that's your apex. So enjoy every minute of it.
Man,
And somebody had
appreciate
said something to me that really resonated, and I wish I'd heard it way sooner. So I'll tell you, you only get 18 summers with them.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. This is my last summer with my little one, right? So they go off and they still love us and they come back and they want to hang out, but not a lot. They'd rather go hang out with their friends. Mom and dad aren't cool anymore.
Oh, I remember being that age, and that's right.
Yeah. I love my parents. My kids love us, but if given left to their own devices, they want to go to the beach. They don't want to hang out.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Hey, when not
so good.
When not talking about real estate, what else do you like to do?
Man, it's really just work, real estate, and my kids right now. There's not a ton of idle time to do other stuff. I'm trying to think of.
You don't have to make something up. That's enough right there.
Yeah, I can't really think of. Yeah, it's really just those two things.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So how can people, if somebody wants to learn more about you or your business, what's the best way to get in touch?
I think they can look me up on LinkedIn, connect with me there, or just go to my website. It's harvey-capital.com, or just shoot me an email, will@harvey-capital.com.
Awesome. Will Harvey, thank you so much for joining us today. Continued good fortune and good luck with the boys and your wife. And let's stay in touch. I think I really enjoyed our conversation.
I really appreciate it, Ed. This was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you.
This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow.
Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.